Only you guys could do this where I'm literally laughing one minute and then crying the next. Don't you guys are sweet?
Like, well, this is the beginning.
I love
This
seeing you
is
cry.
the start.
Welcome. Almost iconic.
And our first guest, we are so excited to introduce
Heather Burge.
Yay!
So excited.
Yeah.
If you don't know Heather Burge, then you are missing out because she is amazing.
Yes.
Heather is well, first of all, she's just one of our really best friends and has walked through so many deep seasons of life. So it's really special to have her on here. But she is the founder of Restore Collective, which is the makeup company that we are founding partners with.
Yeah.
And we just want to ask her some questions today.
I feel like I want to dig a little, so I'm hoping we can get there. Our goal in this is to allow you to see that by taking the next step, no matter where you're at, that you're not stuck.
Yeah.
And it's really inspiring because I feel like we've known you through different seasons now, and Lyndsay's known you even longer, and it's really special. It's really cool.
It is really cool. We're gonna dig, like she said. So we're gonna dig.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can I start?
Yes.
The questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Why not?
So, when I first met you, you were kind of at the beginning of your faith journey. And I remember you were kind of in a place where you would I don't want to say shy away from because you weren't ashamed of it, but you were very careful to talk about your faith when it came to business, because I know your heart was that you didn't want to offend anybody or make anybody feel uncomfortable or anything like that. But as the years have gone by, I have seen you become so bold in your faith, which I'm like, I love it. So I just want to know, what do you feel like has changed for you in that, and do you see a difference in your business because you are bold?
Oh my goodness. Yes, I love that question. And it's kind of funny because I think there's been maybe 3 or 4 specific points in my business journey that has aligned with my faith walk that speak to that. And so, because I was a late believer, though I would have said that I was a Christian, I think my whole life, because I would go to church maybe twice a year, just small little Baptist or Methodist church on Christmas, maybe when I would visit one of my grandmothers, but nothing really ever landed with me. And I did not know the Bible, so theological wisdom was not something that was, that I grew up with, even to the extent that I feel like a lot of people who grew up in a church environment would know. And so with business, when I started my business, so I started with a boutique. Fresh out of college, I moved actually to Savannah on graduation day from UGA, opened the boutique 3 months later, and was actually really successful right off the bat with that endeavor. Through faith, I would say, which I feel like the Lord always blesses our acts of faith, even if we're not necessarily seeking Him for that direction and that. And so I can look back to every blessing
And you just
tied to that. Yes,
Yeah.
stepped out and did it, exactly.
Yeah.
But the problem was I was not attributing the success that I was having to Him because I didn't know that. I think I thought of the Lord, or God is like, oh, if we pray, almost like a genie, like where if you put this in, then you're going to get this out, which is not at all. The reality of the gospel is, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how deep we can get into my full-on testimony, but as it relates to faith and business, I think it started with, I had a simple faith, which I do think the Lord blessed, even if it wasn't in Him. But then I had a come to my knees moment when I realized that I could not do it without Him, and that every good thing was from Him and not from me, and that by me trying to do it on my own, I was not going to succeed. And so that was kind of the start, and that was a big catalyst for giving my life to Christ, between our marriage and wanting to raise our kids in a different way than I had been raised. But then I would say business, like my faith and business journey has been a big part of it. And so then along the way, I remember when I joined, for example, Direct Sales, the company that I was with for 8 years, my mentor was the first person I had ever heard say, it's faith first, family second, career third. I take a Sabbath with my family on Sundays. I just remember being so inspired because I had honestly at that point never really heard anybody else say that. And so it was modeled for me in a way that made me feel, especially as sort of a baby believer even then, it had been maybe 5-ish years, 6 years
Still
at that
baby.
time. That's still baby.
Still
for sure.
baby.
Yeah, and so it was very inspiring to me. But then it was, I would say, baby steps at first of when it felt right, or maybe in the right conversation with another believer. But you're exactly right. I think I kind of, for a while, came at it. I think a lot of people do this as believers in business, where they don't want to offend someone, or they don't
for sure.
certainly want to tell someone else what they should believe. So along the way, when I felt like the more I leaned into aligning with something that I could not separate from my business, which is my faith, and in trusting the Lord for direction and guidance, then it became almost not authentic to not be transparent about what was the driving factor. And so I remember another turning point. So one turning point was when my mentor modeled it for me. Another point was when I had my podcast, because at the beginning, when I started that podcast, Dream With Me, and even maybe Scale Without Social, I was trying to be even a little bit more inclusive, and that wasn't that long ago, right? But then when I was like, no, you know what, I'm gonna lean into this, because I know there are people like me that either are believers or seekers who need that boldness of their faith modeled for them in that way. And so I would say that's when I first really publicly leaned into my faith. You know, I started weaving it in when I would be able to speak on stage at like our company conference. I'm like, I'm not going to shy away from this. And thank God I didn't have anybody that ever limited me in that way, because I know sometimes that's the case. And so then it's just grown. And with this company, I mean, there was no other way than for me to boldly profess what I believe, and look to him for that. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but it's been a long journey in the best way.
Yeah,
It has been.
and it's so cool because I feel like in this journey through it, I feel like majority of the people, I don't want to say all, because I don't know if that's true, but the majority of those who have decided to partner early on, it's been such a strong calling from the Lord. Not even sure why, what, how, and okay, God, I blindly trust you. And I feel like, I'm in that position myself. I feel like you're in that position. It's like, okay, God, this is what you're telling me to do, and I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's been so clear for so many people, which is wild. You really took those steps in obedience. And it wasn't just you that was called. It was to call this community together to just be the light, not to push anything, or it's beyond anything that we'd ever sell. It's just to come together and remind each other of our value, and our worth is not in our title, our volume, our sales, our goals, not in any of that, besides just honoring the path that he's led us to. And it's hard because the enemy wants to come in and mess that up.
He does. He for sure does.
I'm curious, what have you felt where you felt like really a lot of resistance, like in growing, that you can share? That where you really have to surrender. I feel like every day is like a surrender, right? Every day we have to re-surrender, and God tells us every day follow him. It's a choice to carry the cross. And
Well, okay, so do you guys remember at the very beginning, I think it was maybe one of our early founding partner mentor retreats, where it was right when kind of AI and ChatGPT was, which that's a whole other topic. But I remember one of us, I don't remember who it was, dropped in there, if the enemy wanted to come in and kind of fight against, or discourage, or like, or fight against this resistance, what would he do? And
actually,
it is
crazy.
Wild, because I feel like almost all of those things, whether it be, confusion of like what someone says versus what someone meant in that, even by people who are friends, whether it's overthinking or comparison, like our own, negative thoughts. For sure, I don't remember if this was in there or not, but tech, I genuinely believe that is one area that I feel like, the Lord has allowed the enemy to step in and kind of mess with. Because it's crazy how often tech related problems, even today, like social media shutdown. So, I think it's helpful that we actually had that kind of preview of how the enemy could get in here and mess it up, and he definitely has tried for sure, and will continue to. And I think that, in fact, I know even our pastor kind of shared that when you experience that kind of resistance, especially when you know you are doing it out of obedience
Right.
and operating in the Lord's will, like that resistance is actually kind of a good sign that you're doing His will.
Yeah, true.
It doesn't make it easier, but it is.
Makes it actually so frustrating because you're like, God, I'm following you, like, because you want it to be like sunshine and rainbows, but the enemy's like, yeah, you're following him.
I got a vision of something really quick, like a visual of when you so Restore is just the example that I'm going to use because it's what we're in, and because you and Roger and then collectively all of us have decided to make the decision to be faith forward and very much try our best. We're not perfect and we fail every day, but to put our faith and trust in the Lord and know that He's guiding the ship. So what I picture almost, at first I was picturing kind of almost like a dome over us, but when you think about when you wear a helmet, okay, when you're wearing a helmet and somebody might hit you in the head, you still feel like the impact of the hit, but you're protected. There's a protection there. And I feel like that's what has happened. This just came. This is the Lord, not me. This just came to my mind, like this visual. I'm like,
well, and it's biblical, the armor of God.
Yes.
The helmet of salvation, right there.
The helmet of salvation. Are you joking? Yes, that's what it feels like. If you're wearing a helmet and somebody like
the arrows are still going to come.
Yes, and you feel it, and you're jarred, and you even like react, but you're protected in a way. And I feel like that's what's happened.
Yes.
Through so many little and big things in Restore. It's like we have felt the ramifications of it, but God has had His hand over us. The helmet of salvation.
Yeah, it's so good. You know what? After Ben's motorcycle accident, his helmet was obviously like you can't use it, but that's what saved his life.
Wow.
And we could have just tossed it out of the hospital. I was like, I feel like we would be able to take this helmet, and so we still have the helmet.
No.
Because I felt so significant, and now I'm like, wow, I didn't really even think of it like that. And and you can see it like dinged up, and I know, but.
Because that's another thing we need to talk about. I feel like every time we do a podcast, we're like, oh, we need to talk about this on the next podcast or on one podcast. Is that situation that you went through. But yes, I think by being faith forward and putting that as a forefront, I do think there is a level of protection. But it does not mean that there are not issues and trials and all the things. And we know that in our personal lives that you are going to have issues and trials, but God does always have you for sure.
So, and sometimes it takes friends reminding you. That's why we need each other. It's hard sometimes to see that. Is there times where you've had to have someone else point it out to you?
Oh goodness, yes. Well, especially Roger. You know, I think that's been. I mean, that's another again, like I said, kind of a huge facet of my testimony is just like our marriage. And Lyndsay knows this because she has seen the growth and like genuine firsthand, not just like lip service. You know, it's like watch what
it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, only God, right?
Oh yes. Only God.
Only God. Only God. Yeah. And that is kind of fun. And the turning point for us in our marriage was actually where we met, which was Walk to Emmaus, which is like this really amazing spiritual retreat that they've been doing for like, you guys would, you would absolutely love it. But it was really cool because actually the way they design it is the men go through it first. If you're blessed enough to be able to do it with your spouse, they go through it first. And then you don't know what happened, but you see the difference in the change. And I mean, he has been genuinely a different person ever since. It's really, really cool. So I got to see that. And then I went into it with that kind of same mindset. And so watching us grow together, and he for sure has been the solid rock. And it's really wild because like starting this business, we're both entrepreneurs. I have always, even before I was a believer, been, I guess, courageous in that way where I'm like, don't tell me what I can't do. I'm going to go do it. So I wasn't ever necessarily scared, but the parts that we thought would be the easiest, you know, maybe it's relational or leadership or the direct sales, you know, because I'm so systems minded of like, if you do this, then this will happen, you know, like it's like this, that kind of thing. Those things have been, you know, more challenging. Whereas the parts that you would have assumed would have been hard, like working with your spouse, especially after a long journey together and growing together in faith, it's actually been probably the best part. You know,
it's really cool.
I could cry again because it's like, it's so cool to see how he holds me up, not just from a business gifting perspective, but from a relational perspective, because he definitely is the one that probably keeps me in line the most in a good way.
We have to shout out Roger for a second because he has to like herd cats. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Literally. With us women on a call, and he's like, okay,
Roger.
Okay, ladies, let's.
Oh, you should.
We need Roger
He
on
loves
the
the
pod.
podcast.
Oh, let's
Yeah.
interview Roger.
Yeah.
Another podcast idea, people. We're just
Okay.
flowing with it. You said just a minute ago that you have always been like, don't tell me something I can't do. I'm like, that is the literal definition of taking action in the almost, which is what this is all about. And I think you modeled that so well. I think about that often with the beginning of Restore. You did not wait until everything was done, put together. Heaven forbid the capsule broke, like all of these things. You invited everybody along on the journey in the almost, which is, I think, what has really made it so awesome and special.
And it just shows you learn by doing. You really cannot learn any other way by just doing. And going through the hard and going through the muck and the head trash. And I mean, and I feel like you think that you overcome it, and then I was just back in it a few days ago. It's hard sometimes, but it's like, that's where I feel like it's so special to be here with this, because to cultivate the people around you. And I feel like you've always just been this beautiful mentor in business, but even when we were in two separate businesses, you didn't hesitate to give me a journal and a notebook. That just shows your heart, and you're truly want to elevate the industry, but I think because you want to elevate and empower women, specifically women, I would say. I mean, men, you do your thing too, but I know my dad's
With the
listening.
men behind you, backing you up.
I think that's where I see such a strength in you, is like you really want to like empower women to know that they can do it, even when we fall into doubt. And building a business isn't easy. And I mean, you've been through it in terms of brick and mortar and direct sales. So I feel like you can speak to both. What would you say to someone who's right now growing and trying to build a business? What's on your heart for that?
Oh man, well, I think that it's crazy that you asked that question as I was just thinking, like I felt inspired basically to answer that question, which is
so cool.
I don't think you can be successful in any business endeavor, whether it's big or small. Maybe it is like taking on, social media or, or starting a podcast, without having a deep burden for those that you're going to serve through it. Like, kind of like break my heart for what breaks yours. That scripture. What does your heart break for? And my heart breaks for women who feel like the only way to find growth, or worth or fulfillment or success in business is to conform to this mold that the world tells us to be, when obviously, it's like we're told not to be conformed to the pattern of this world, but instead to be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And I just feel like whether it is social media and I see that happen all the time, where someone will have success online, on social, for example, for being exactly who they are, relatable, maybe it's real size woman, maybe it's growing out the hair, maybe it's wrinkled, whatever it is, it's like real, funny,
and that's what
funny.
attracts
that's why people came to them. But then guess what they do? They get their start comparing to someone else who maybe has this huge, massive following, and they're like, oh, maybe I should, go get, well, and again, there's nothing wrong with like the shop, but maybe I should go get on the shop, or maybe I should get plastic surgery to change myself and to look more like this person, or change even like the style of the clothes that I wear because that's what's trending or something. You know what I mean? It's like you have to be inherently who you are. And then what's crazy is that's what's attractive to people. But I see it all the time where it's like, like you said, there's that constant resistance along the way that's usually right up here in our mind that
I feel that so strongly, like that rooted in that identity, not being like washed by the waves. If you're in an environment and you start feeling like, oh, if I was like them, or I looked like them, and no, God created you to be you, exactly you, right now, in this moment, with the burdens that you have, with the hard that you're walking through, and for a reason, like for His glory, for His purpose.
And I think that's what we forget too, is literally everything that we do should be for His glory, but oftentimes it's not. That's, I think, when we start to take our eyes off God and put it on, we need to be different, or we need to change because we're starting to want the glory for ourselves. But it's like, if we want God to have the glory, then it shouldn't matter. We need to be who God created us to be. And one thing that I feel like you have always been good at is, like you were saying, helping people, seeing women. And I feel like you remember everybody's story. You remember everybody's names, everybody's kids. It's wild to me. And I know that is a gift from the Lord in the position that you're in to be able to do that. And like, as my business has grown and as your business has grown, I'm like, I feel like I want that. I want to be able to just remember everybody and everybody's story and everything. Have you always been that way even before you were a believer? Or do you feel like that kind of grew as you grew closer to the Lord? Or both?
I think a little bit of both. I think even when I think of starting the boutique business, for example, I remember from the very beginning wanting every single person that walked through that door, whether it was the mailman or someone who could or couldn't afford what we had to offer, I wanted to make them feel loved and seen. And, you know, so I think that maybe has always been, you know, kind of inherently, I guess, part of the way I was made. But I do think that the Lord has supernaturally kind of gifted what you're talking about, because I feel like I forget a lot of things. And one non-business tangible example is I'm on the welcome team at our church, which is a pretty big church. And so I meet and interact with a lot of people, and I, in that moment, somehow, at least for that day, can remember their names and, you know, their circumstance. And if I go to introduce them or get their welcome gift, I can like interact. But I'm sitting there going like, I know this is you, Lord, and this is not me, because unfortunately then, like, I will sometimes often forget their name. But it's like in that moment, he used me to help them feel seen and welcome.
I wonder if that was like part of your faith walk. Like, you were so determined to help someone feel seen and valued, and the Lord was like, I see you and I value you, and you stepped into that. I feel like you were on such a mission to make others feel that way. I wonder, sometimes I feel like what we project and we give is what we need.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking, like, when I went to therapy, which is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, 100% recommend.
And I can remember her, like, she's like, oh, because, you know, they'll always try to tie it back. Well, and I loved y'all's podcast episode on the middle school stuff, and sometimes I wonder how much of that I'm even burying. But you could tell she was trying to unpack this, like, trauma from my childhood. Then I'm like, I don't remember there being any trauma. You know, but what, you know, the antidote is, if you do have trauma in that, you find that person, that girl, and you picture the Lord wrapping, you know, his arms around you and telling you what he sees in you. And I remember her asking me, how do you think the Lord sees you? And I mean, I remember my brain was just empty. I was like, I don't know, I can't connect to that. I don't know what the Lord says about me. I don't know. It's really weird. So maybe I've never really quite unpacked that, but maybe
how do you think he sees you now?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm like putting therapy on the spot. Oh man, how does he see here? I'm like, I mean, I hope he sees me. I mean, right now, F is my letter of the year, word of the year.
F word.
It's tied to, you know, John, like, to finish well, right? Like, well done, good and faithful servant. So I pray that he sees me, you know, flaws and all, mistakes and all. I pray that he sees me as a vessel for achieving his will on this earth and helping people feel loved. So I think
you are.
Yes, he does. He does.
I'm like, I feel like I can confidently, I'm not God, but I'm like, yes.
Well, thank you for saying that. But it is funny how I can't even, I don't feel like I can't be like, oh yes, that is how he sees me.
You know, it feels like you're, it feels like you're, you know, being like, well, I'm pretty sure that this is how he sees me. But it is an interesting thing to think about, of how God sees you.
And I don't think I could answer that either. I could look at both of you and say, like, God sees you and loves you and cares for you. Like, and I know that for myself, but it's actually probably a good exercise.
Right?
Yeah, we should all take a moment and think about it.
Yeah, because Sophie and I have grown so close recently, and we talk about a lot of things in our struggles and insecurities and all those things.
I blob all my stuff.
We both blob. We're blobbers. That's what we do. We're blobbers. But very recently, I feel like it's okay because you shared this on social media, that you had the enemy hard on you, and you were like in a funk, and I could feel it when I was talking to you.
And I get like that. It happens. It ebbs and flows.
Yes. Well, and this was hard for me because I felt very much like the Lord was like, you need to say this to her. But it feels like, okay, well, it's going to sound like I'm like, Sophie, I have all the answers, but it was just the Lord. But I was just like, you need to stop because you have so many gifts and people see so much goodness in you. So many people would love to be you and who you are, and you're diminishing that. You're squashing the beauty and the joy that God has given you right now, and it makes me mad. I was like, it makes me angry.
And she made me cry. That's like so beautiful though. And that's why if you're listening, we do not have it figured out. The enemy tries to come and steal our joy all the time. And I feel like we walk through hard things that you'll never know about. And because you're going to protect your family members that might be going through stuff. And like you know, everything you see, I'm going to be as vulnerable and authentic as I can. We see you and where you're at. And I just feel like someone listening needs to hear that.
If you're struggling in your marriage, if you have a child who maybe is going through something that is pulling them away from the Lord, but you know that that's not how you raise them. If you have a friend who is unfortunately doing things that are hurtful or whatever the case may be, we, I think, have all been there. I think a lot of people have older children that they are having to surrender to the Lord, and that's so hard in that season of life. Anyways,
or like kids that are sick, like sickness, dealing with your family members. My sweet friend just lost her mom, and just going through life. Like we're all going through it, you know? Yeah.
I do feel, I read in a book recently, it's a social media book, because as I'm trying to take baby steps to get back in myself, I'm like, how does this work again? But I thought that there was really good advice on there that if you're going through a tough season, especially if you are trying to be transparent online and authentic online, it can feel like you have to share every facet of what that story is, especially if you have a heart to serve someone who may or may not going through it. But the advice that she gave, for example, she had gotten fired from her job, basically. But she was very successful at it, but got fired. And she recommended to go through that season, like get through it to where you're not feeling it. And I feel like she said this better than I could, but it's like you're not processing it out loud. Like you've like processed it, you've worked through it. She's like, when you can get through it, she's like, it took years for me to be able to say on stage, this is what happened to me. But then that's how she can more powerfully serve someone to help them, even if they're just a few steps behind. And so
that's true.
Because they can see that you made it through, the Lord carried you.
Yeah.
And everything's going to be okay, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be okay probably in that moment.
That also is what makes it challenging to, if you are a leader, and to train or lead or speak when you are in the midst of something hard, because you're like, well, can we just all agree that we're a hot mess?
Yes. And I think that, that message is important. The other thing that I definitely feel impressed to say is you absolutely cannot keep those things in. So you do have to share the hard things that you're going through with the people that you care about.
It just doesn't need to be public.
Yeah, exactly.
There is this expectation, I think, on social media, where if you are somebody who shares a lot, that you're supposed to just share everything, or that you're fake if you act like everything's okay, or whatever. And it's like sometimes people, or all the time, nobody's sharing everything. You're not sharing when you're arguing with your husband or yelling at your child,
or you're constipated.
Yes. Or the opposite.
Just like on the screen. Right.
And we don't need to see all of that. It's just like, it's just like, sex scenes in a movie. It's like we can do whatever, but we don't necessarily have to see it all.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's like there's this expectation that, they're just trying to act like their life is all great. No, it's okay just to not always have to share every bit and piece of your life when you're not ready. But if you are ready and you are called to do it, you will know.
You have to do it.
And the Lord will give you the words. He will for
Absolutely.
sure give you the words. Okay, so to wrap it up, let's just ask, if you were to start Restore over again today, like if you were starting at day one, is there anything that you would change, or would you do it all over again the same way?
This is a good question and a very tough question. I feel like the Lord made it very clear at the beginning. There were some things that were, I always say it's like a download. I feel like He will literally just like stick a USB and it's like, and I think the good things, the fruit that has come from this, have all been tied to that initial download. And then somewhere along the way, some of them got lost or didn't happen, or I did something else or different, or went down a different direction, and maybe that wasn't the best idea. And so I think for me, I mean, He works all of it together, our mistakes. And so change it, maybe not, because I think we wouldn't be where we are now without having gone through those mistakes and wrong decisions or whatever, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
But I would say I would for sure trust, and I pray that moving forward, I can just trust more in that vision that's so clear to me, and be really bold and confident in that vision to those around me.
Yeah.
And I think that is what the right people who are also feeling led to it. I feel like that confidence and clarity is, even if you're like, well, I don't know why we're doing like that, I still think it kind of gives confidence for them to keep going too. And so, yeah.
I feel like I'm always inspired by you, and grateful that I'm just grateful that everybody can learn from you, and through this company or through this podcast and whatever you're building and working through and striving at, is the fact that like you literally were always saying we're building the plane as we're flying it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's inspiring because that's life, and we're all winging it. Nobody really knows what they're doing. Some people pretend better than others, and it's just so inspiring to be able to have been in this journey, to see you build from zero and go through hard things and be honoring to the Lord through it. And you can see your surrender. You can see how you honor him and surrender all of it to him. And it's inspiring. It makes me want to be better. I think it makes everyone want to be better. And that's what we say a lot in Restore too, is better together. And
Better together.
yeah, so yeah,
It's good.
make it better. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here with us today. Our very first interviewee.
We love you so much.
Oh, I love you so much.
Aww. Yay. Well, thank you guys for joining in today.
Yeah,
And we're going to definitely do a part 2 for sure with Heather.
And 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And
probably-
it's going to be
And
lots of
5,000.
fun.
Yeah,
exactly.
Lots
One
of fun.
day. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
We're going to pray us out.
yeah.
You want me to pray?
Sure.
Okay.
Do it.
Hands. Okay. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this time together. Just thank you that we get to do really awesome things like this. We just are making it happen in the almost, Lord, even when we don't feel ready or prepared or feel the best or whatever the case may be, Lord, that you just give us the words and give us the direction. And we just thank you so much for that. Thank you for Heather and her heart. Thank you that she has just been a light, Lord, for so many women, and I know that so many will agree with that, Lord, and we just thank you for her heart. Thank you for Roger and his heart as well, Lord, and that they are doing this together. And we just ask that you would bless both of them, Lord, and all of the amazing people that are a part of Restore Collective, Lord, that you would just bless them. And anybody watching this that's not a part of it, anybody who just has resonated with anything that was said, Lord, we just ask that you bless them, Lord, and help them to see you clearly. And we just, we love you, and we thank you and praise you for all that you do. In your name I pray. Amen.
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 Yay.
See y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening today. We are so grateful that you tuned into Almost Iconic. We would love it if you would subscribe, like, share, and tag us if you do, and say what resonated with you. We love you guys.
Love you. Yes to all of that.